Yeah. So, Darrick, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business, Southwest Wheel?
Okay, my name's Darrick Sweeden. I'm the executive vice president of Southwest Wheel. Southwest Wheel is a 170-year-old company. We're in the wheel and trailer parts distribution business. Obviously, we started out a lot different than we are now. Basically, it was founded kind of the same principles, just works with new technology now. We basically distribute to small manufacturers, installers, resellers, and individuals, and basically have been kind of doing the same thing and selling the same parts for this 100 years.
Wow. 100 years is a long time, man. That's feels like we've been in business for a while, but we're nowhere close to 100 years. So that's cool.
Well, we've been bigger and we've been smaller, and you know, when you're a 100-year-old company, you're many things. So, and if you don't learn to change and adapt, you won't be around that long, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that. Okay. So maybe you can go into a little bit of that company evolution over the years.
Well, I mean, in the early 1900s, we were mainly into manufacturing. The founder had produced several trailer axle companies. They had their own wheel and rim fabrication shop. We were building a lot of our own product. We, through the 40s, 50s, and 60s, evolved into 13 branches, 3 different manufacturing facilities. At the time, we were 100 million plus a year company, and you put that in 1960s dollars, that's quite a bit. Back then, hundreds of employees. We had a second story. It was just nothing but people doing office and paperwork. But the current owner, Dallas Hensley, was the president of Southwest Wheel. During the 70s and into the 80s, he purchased. The business was going through different phases at that time. Distribution was going through changes. We had sold off the factories. The ownership at that time was using Southwest Wheel to buy bigger and better companies, and so he kept the Dallas branch, Lubbock branch, and we did have a Houston branch, and sold off the other pieces so that you might see that there's other Southwest Wheels out there. They were all former satellite branches of our main branch, and then in '98. They hired me, and he had a friend over at Century Wheel and Rim, and he said he wanted to be in the internet business. And of course, he said, "Can I do it?" And I said, "Sure." Of course, back in 1998, the world's a little bit different then.
Right.
And I've been doing it ever since. And we kind of have, I don't like to call us a .com or anything like that, because obviously our heritage is that we're not. We're more of I'd like to say, omni-channel company now. And
Sure.
we sell all over the contiguous 48 states.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for that background. So, kind of keying into what you were sharing at the last part, how important is e-commerce?
Well, sure. E-commerce is probably 80% of our business now. And again, it has changed so much in the last 20 years. So, I mean, when we first started doing this, it was like, oh, you guys are doing .com and so forth. And now it's just a selling tool. I mean, now that we're heading into now AI and all this other stuff, it's just another means of, it's as simple as the telephone. You have to have this capability. You have to be seen. You have to, we work within several marketplaces. So it's vital that we stay ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, kind of moving onward, before we started working together, what challenges were you experiencing on your website and as it relates to e-commerce?
Well, I mean, the crew goes way back because we were with ASP.NET Storefront before Vortex, right? Vortex was our consultants at the time. And Christian, once Vortex took over, kind of did a lot of the back end work and all that kind of stuff. So I was really comfortable and familiar. Joe mainly helped me out over at Vortex and so forth. But we got really, I would say, 2000s, we were really going at it. And then about 2007, 2008, we got addicted to the Amazon marketplace structures and all the marketplace fun stuff. And that lasted probably all the way up to 2022, 2023. And that's when we said, marketplaces may have, I'm not saying they're going away, but they kind of went through their cycle. And that's when we decided that we're going to start refocusing on our own technology. We already own the source code and all that. It was just getting it up to date and modernized. And that's where, Morrison Motorfac came really into play. And since basically, honestly, since 2023, we've moved the site light years ahead of where was, and getting it now ready for the AI realm is where I think we're going next. And we're watching our moving people off the marketplaces and back onto our own site just for the sake of getting better margins. The
Right.
marketplaces have become very toxic with Chinese importers and all that kind of stuff. So getting them off there, they don't seem to do very well in the open one-on-one space.
Yep. Yeah, it's a tricky situation. And just specifically with Amazon and all these companies, they have so much information and they're basically just training their own system to understand what our customers asking for. And they have put themselves
Absolutely.
in that spot to start creating those products and for cheaper and putting it above wherever your products are listed. So that's definitely
Yes.
frustrating.
Yeah, there's definitely no loyalty to that. I mean, they're learning. Fortunately, we never gave the marketplaces our full catalogs. We never gave them, we gave them 20% of it, right? So,
Right.
and the one thing that we've learned that the Chinese can never do is replicate made in the USA. So we stick with good partners, and it seems to work out.
Absolutely. So you probably keyed in on this a little bit, but maybe you can go into a little bit more detail relating to the website and e-commerce. Were there any operational or growth bottlenecks tied to your website?
You know, I think for us it was more that we got into the storefront so early. I mean, we were probably client 100 or within the first 100 clients. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
we were the first ones to kind of experiment with multi-store.
Hmm.
And we built a lot around that. The hardest part for us was, and still is when you have the new modern shopping carts out there, and without having to start from scratch and doing it all over again, how do you take the source code that you own and develop it into something that's relevant today and still can outperform everybody else, and still believe in the platform and all that. From a growth perspective, I mean, we've been building this website for 20 years, so it's again, some of it is it's all onion layered per se, each
Right.
step. But sometimes you have to peel off some of those layers because it's changed. Right. So, we have 7 different websites. It was relevant during, you would say, the search engine wars, right? Because our name's Southwest Wheel. We sell trailer parts. When you're looking for that keyword relevance, it's hard to always get to the top when your name's Southwest Wheel. So, I mean, we have trailerpart.com, we have other sites and so forth, but then the modern, with AI search and all this other stuff, okay, now you're going the other way because it can distinguish all this stuff. So,
Right.
so learning to, turn with the flows, because I mean, a lot in e-commerce is trendy stuff too. So, I mean, not all of it works out, and Google doesn't stick with everything they start. It's always a fun and exciting thing to figure out, how you're going to become obsolete the next day. But when it comes down to when we really, really teamed up, Tyler and the gang has been, I mean, they keep us, it's nice because I've been doing e-commerce for a long time, and now I've evolved to running the company itself, and it's nice to have people who sit there and say, "Hey, have you tried this? Have you done this? Have you thought of this?" And it's like, it's been a long time since I've been able to bounce ideas back and forth with somebody.
Yeah.
And
So it sounds like there's a little bit more of a relationship where we're doing some thought leadership with you and more
yeah,
of a
absolutely.
consulting approach.
Oh, and there's sometimes I just shoot down things, and then there's sometimes that they're trying to convince me that this is the way to go, and then next thing you know, they're trying to convince me the opposite way of. I'm like, I thought we decided that my way wasn't the right way, and then they're like, oh, yeah, actually it was. So a lot of it's trial and error. And I'm more, let's do it, let's move forward. And your guys' team is more, hey, let's test this. Let's make sure what we're doing is it. So it keeps me in check.
Yeah, that's great. So that actually leads me into my next question. So thinking way back and maybe thinking in the present term, when looking for a good partner to help you with all these things, what were you hoping to find? I mean, maybe that's some of the things you already shared, but go into that a little bit.
Well, the one thing that again, it comes down to some of the people like Christian I've been probably working with for nearly 20 years, right? And one thing, especially in the world of e-commerce, starting to do this in 1998, I'm not a grandfather anymore. I'm like great great grandpa, right? So, what I also look for is like, hey, they're with me. They've been with me they're with me now, but where is it going to be in 10 years? Because I'm building a lot of infrastructure here. I'm putting a lot of money into a platform. And, are they going to be there? Are they going to be relevant 10 years from now? Because, that's one thing that, as an executive, I sit there and say, yeah, I can put my dollars in here because I believe they've been here in the past and they'll be here in the future. And even if something happens to where I currently host, I believe you guys have all the capabilities to, if something changes and everything changes, you guys will be able to accommodate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think you kind of went into this, but what stands out to your team or what stands out to you when compared to other options on partners? I mean, it sounds like we've been along the way for your whole journey here. But if you could kind of think about some comparison, maybe go into what helps us stand apart from others that you would potentially want to work with.
Of course, I get a sales pitch every day, right? I mean, there's a sales pitch. I've heard them all, right? Especially in 20 years or 28 years. A lot of the stuff I hear is just cookie cutter. Insert. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. If it comes to that kind of stuff, I mean, we can do that internally. We don't need that type of help and development, right? I see this especially on the marketplaces. Oh, we can make you number one. It's like, yeah, I've been kind of backing off on the market spaces, But what I like, and again, is that, I mean, I can shoot an email, and I'll let them say, hey, you're crazy. It's like, no, or they take what I'm doing and they'll approach it back with, why don't we try this? Why don't we try this code? Why don't we, do this? But we're all working for the same goal. And, it's not always about coding. It's about the business too, right?
Right.
Like we did somewhat of realignment this year because we wanted to be more disciplined and we wanted, more about the margin, more about all this stuff instead of just absolute growth, right? At first it's challenging to them because they're like, their jobs, pull more hits, pull more, convert. And it's like, no, let's keep the budgets here. Let's do this like this. And it always doesn't make sense on the data end, but then they get my feedback and I sit there and say, no, guys, this is actually working how we wanted it to,
Right.
and then it's like, okay, now that we're grounded here, this is where we want to go. This is how we want to do it. And we built a path that way, and it seems to work out really well. And
That
then,
makes sense.
and they're always offering the next, greatest thing and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, sometimes I say yes. And sometimes I'm like, nah, not yet. So it works out well. And it's just not, I mean, every pitch I get is so cookie cutter. I mean, it's like, how many clients did you just tell the same thing to? Right. And this is more personalized.
Yeah. Well, that tells me a lot about the importance of our relationship and what you kind of mentioned beforehand with not just understanding what we do, but understanding how your business works and the ins and outs of those things. Cause I think that's what makes a relationship, especially a consulting relationship, be so effective.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, there is a lot of trust there. There is a ton of trust.
That's great. Okay. So what's been your experience what's been your experience like working with our current team and your current initiatives? How has that been going, say, in the last year or so, if you want to go into detail with that?
On the I guess the SEO side and all that, Tyler has been everything we could ask for. He very grounded, very knowledgeable, is always there when I got a question, when something isn't right. I guess he eats and sleeps with this stuff. So, I mean, I know I do. So, I mean, and I like that. And again, very, from a consulting side of it, you're always worried because there's always a sales pitch that goes along with it, or, are you doing it for your interest? Or are you doing it for our interest? And I always feel like you guys are doing it for my interest, and the suggestions, not every one of them works out perfect and all that, but at least there's the willingness to try. And then you guys produce some stuff that I'm like, man, I never even thought of that. And that's refreshing. For doing this for 28 years, you think you know everything, but you don't. So I mean, that's why we have consultants, because it's always pushing it to give better customer service, to give better product, and give a better presentation.
Absolutely. Could you give me an example of something our team suggested that you didn't think of that worked out fabulously?
I mean, there's so many to. When it comes down to the usability, and I was never big into. I was never big into reviews for 25 years, right? And in the last 2 or 3 years, they finally convinced me that reviews are probably worth it, right? I'm like, I haven't needed them for 25 years. Why would I need them now, right? But now I kick myself because I'm like, man, I could have been up to 100, 200,000 reviews by now, right? Email list. I was very anti. I always thought it was just spamming people, right? Because everybody. But there's something to it. They were right, and we added those features to it. They've helped more aesthetically get everything right for mobile and for desktop and all that. And now we're heading into AI prompts. So I mean, it's getting that, which I've been working with them on that, and yeah, does that need some human intervention and so forth? Sure, but I'm finally buying into all of that. So and also social media post. I mean, I was very straightforward. Don't need it.
Hmm.
Of course, again, when you're on the marketplaces, you don't necessarily need that for yourself. But now that we're focusing more and more on our own domains and so forth, those are some very positive things.
Absolutely.
And they're pushing me on some things right now that I am hesitant to, like Stripe and so forth. That right now I'm saying no, but I know probably by the beginning of the year we're going to be running on Stripe. So
Yep. Sounds like you have a good track record of taking our team's advice. So
yes,
I like to hear
yes,
that. Yeah, and it's important. I mean, to your previous point and why you would get pitches every single day and the cookie cutter, like, hey, we'll make you number one over here, we'll make your website this or whatever. It's like these are some of the key things that has differentiated our relationship with you as it relates to that full surround consulting, some of those edge cases things like with email, yeah, automation, and then the reviews. I mean, those are really great examples. So I appreciate you sharing those. Okay. So I guess as it relates to your website, what changes have we been a part of that have made the biggest impact internally for your team?
we finally got into advanced search. That really helped on a lot of things. Our team, our sales team, our internal sales team, kind of loves it because they're always like, I mean, it's kind of instant feedback. And to give an example, and Tyler put it a lot nicer than I do, but I'll just speak it to like my young sales reps tell me the boomers don't understand that the add to cart button on mobiles underneath the accept cookies thing. So I'll get with the team like, hey, apparently the boomers don't understand that you have to accept the cookies before you can see the add to cart button on your mobile app. And they're like, got it. So I mean, things like that. There's so many changes that happen, especially on a monthly basis, that just come back from feedback, from reviews, from just daily calls. That I give them that feedback and say, what do you think? How can we make this better, right? And when we only started really pushing social media probably 2 months ago, and the second that I did that, I mean they opened up the whole Mode Effect social platform and said, here, we trust you, let's try it, and it's worked out great. So I mean, again, I think a lot of this, especially when it comes to your guys' group, is trust, and it's a two-way street.
Mhm.
I don't expect you guys to go out and sell it to all my competitors and all that kind of stuff, and maybe you will, I don't but I mean, but at the same time, it's hard to put one thing because there's so many things that change. you
Sure.
know
Yeah, and there's a long running history here. So, I
yeah,
think there's kind of maybe just a emphasis on some of the more recent things that have come into
yeah,
play. So, thinking about some measurable outcomes, we talked about email automation and reviews and some of these things. And then you had mentioned previously that 80% of your sales come online. So, I'd be curious, have you seen sort of a good example of what a good result of some of the things we've done together that has led to like maybe either a real growth in sales, whether it's on the margin side or even if it's on the internal side? You mentioned with some of the things with your sales reps. Can you kind of point to one example you can share and talk about?
well, I mean, again, probably in 2022 we started the initiative to focus more on ourselves and less on the marketplaces. I'll say this, without Morrison, we probably wouldn't have been able to do it. The growth side of it's been exponential. Again, we weren't focusing so much on our own sites because I mean you kind of get, I don't know if say poisoned with Amazon, but as we've done it, we've been able to move all those sales over to our own site and away from Amazon, and without all the features that we have added and without the expansion that we've added to the websites, that would have never been possible. But we haven't lost a dollar doing it.
Okay, so as a result of that work and everything that's going, and you probably shared a little bit of this, have you noticed any changes in customer behavior for online sales or how people interact with you? You kind of mentioned picking up on social media and starting to do that, and also alongside email automation. So maybe share a little bit about that.
Yeah, one thing that for decades I was and it was mainly my own philosophy was the internet was always one and done, right? I mean, it was all about the next transaction. This is trailer parts. Nobody, it's usually because your trailer's broken down in your front yard and your wife's yelling at you to get it fixed and get it out of the way. And that was my philosophy for a long time. So I guess what's really changed in the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years is, yeah, you can really build a foundation. You can get repeat business. You can transition your brand that you've been building across the internet to you, and you can come up with concepts that still gives the customers the comfort of because I mean we may be a known entity within the trailer parts realm, but everybody doesn't know who or what Southwest Wheel is. So I mean, and even our largest factories out there and all that, we're in the trailer parts industry. It's not like going to Walmart, right? So I mean, so we have spent the last couple of decades really branding ourselves out there. And now, Morrison's really what we focus on is bringing that name because people search for our name and so forth, and bringing that name to us and really getting the return on investment. And, again, we have been extremely successful pulling those customers, turning them into repeat customers on our own website instead of paying the margins to the marketplaces.
Awesome. All right. So, how would you describe your business before working with us and sort of after? Like, what would you say? What's been sort of the transformational thought, or what has that process been like?
Well, we're a 100-year-old company, so I mean, you always have your highs and your lows. But when it comes down to working with, we've also, I mean, if anything, we've learned it's just not all about more and more growth, growth, growth. You know what I'm saying? And it's like let's plan this smarter. Let's get the type of business that we want. Let's go after the type of business that we want. Let's control our identity a lot better and not try to be everything to everyone, and just be us. And let's build a plan, a marketing plan, a structure that everybody wins. And we don't have to go 7 days a week all the time, just because we want every sell and all that. It's like, well, let's do this more controlled. Let's look for this type of customer. And like I say, we've built some loyalty here now. We have repeat customers. We are building, not that we hadn't had it before, but it seems like it's on a much higher level.
Right.
It's less one and dones and more building something.
Right. So that sounds like the moving away from the marketplaces, getting those repeatable sales from more customers. That's really positioned Southwest Wheel for future growth, right?
Yes, building a solid base.
Excellent. Okay. So what would you say to another company that's considering working with Mode Effect?
As long as in our industry, I would highly recommend. I would say that you need to know about the business. You need to know. You need to know your business, and then you need to know what you want to do with your business. You don't have to, you don't have to be the greatest programmer of all time. It's nice to know if you know how the insights, how it all works, right? It is good to know some of your own coding because there's going to be stuff that you and your team's going to have to do too. I mean, it's not all just here. I'm sure I could allow Morrison to do it, but you'll get that bill at the end of the day sitting there going, okay, well, we did all the additional work for you too. So, I mean, but what I would recommend is if you know your business and you know that you're to that point where you've done everything you can do locally and you want to expand into the e-commerce realm, they definitely will probably set you up. It doesn't necessarily have to be on front and so forth, but I mean, they'll get you on the right platform in the right direction. They'll understand what your budget is. And then, it really, I mean, the first thing that they're going to do is create a marketing plan if you want it or not. So, I mean, you're going to get it. And, for a know-it-all like myself, I've been doing this forever. You can't teach me anything new that I don't already know. Yeah, there's always something. You learn something every day. Right. So, but a company just getting into it, or a company that's been online and does just need, a fresh look at things. Yeah, I would highly recommend using Motivate. I mean, they will help you, and they got the team to do it, and they got a group that actually cares. And again, in a world of, I get a phone call or an email every day, be it an AI, post, or they'll hook you up on LinkedIn or look you up on LinkedIn and then send you some neat magical graphical proposal. And you're like, I'm just going to stick with what I got, and it works very well,
Right on. How would you describe our team in a sentence or two?
reliable and trustworthy. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, I mean, weird things happen these days, and even when it comes down to stuff that's not even, maybe it's a hosting issue, which I don't host with, at this point, because, we host with Vortex and so forth. They'll be the first ones to write a ticket for me, and it's like, we all know each other, but they know how to get in contact probably quicker than I can. And if something, an error happens, or it seems like I can get a hold of somebody, and or they'll even let me know. Sometimes I don't even know something happened. They're like, hey, we already got this fixed. And I'm like, okay, I'm watching a movie. So, I mean, 'cause, the internet's 24/7. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
anything can happen.
Yep.
So,
All
on
right.
that, knowing that, again, they know your success is going to be their success. So, I mean,
Exactly.
that's how it works.
Yep. So what would you say the biggest value that you're getting from our partnership together?
Personally, it's the bouncing of ideas and them understanding my business, and getting it and thinking outside the box, where, again, sometimes I can just lock myself into a box. They can sit there and say, we're going to, not that they're twisting arms or anything like that. Sometimes it's like a peck, and it's like, Tyler came up with a marketing plan, I think 18 months ago or whatever. And I last week finally got it. I'm like, oh, I get what you're saying now. Sometimes it just takes a while to sink in, and it's just like small pecks. But other times it's very big, bold ideas. And we're like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go for it. And yeah, again, not everything always works out, but some things that you don't even know, it's kind of like, especially in the last couple of years, when it comes to email campaigns, social media and all that, it's all building blocks, So, I mean, it starts out small, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's helpful to know. Okay, so what's next for Southwest Wheel? I know you mentioned you're gonna eventually get on Stripe. Is there anything else that comes to mind that's next for you all?
We're, I think we're going to be diving more and more into AI. I think we're going to be, these new, I think the new marketplaces are going to be like this new announced Google merchant type deal, where you're having AI bots purchase for you and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the stuff that we're working with you guys is kind of going into that realm. It's new and exciting, but I can see us moving more and more, and we're gonna need, trust me, just because you get on that, your prompting and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot more to it, and a lot more guidance, and it does remind me of the early 2000s, when all the .coms were coming out and all that kind of stuff, and we had every search engine in the world. I feel like marketplaces again kind of had their time, and we're about to enter the realm of AI bots, and or AI, whatever you want to call them, and it's gonna be game changing, and we want to make sure that we're there with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like it's just a continual, ongoing relationship of consulting and guiding you guys in the best path. And I appreciate Darrick even hearing about the things that maybe you didn't take our advice on. And that's a
Yeah.
healthy relationship. I mean, not everything is a slam dunk. Not everything's going to be perfect. I mean, it's trial and error, and being willing to try things and getting a steady stream of suggestions and ideas that are coming from understanding your business and knowing what could be the next driver of success is something that takes a long time to learn. So we appreciate your relationship and your trust in us, and Well, I know I could speak for so many of the team members. We really have enjoyed working with you so far.
Yeah. Yeah, again, sometimes it's just pure budget constraints at the time and so forth. It's like,
Sure.
okay, I didn't plan on going that far with this, but and other things. I mean, it's like, yeah, we can't live without it now. So I mean, it's interesting because my controller always sits there and goes, do I throw this on the Morrison pile? I'm like, it's working.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, it's, as a business owner here, also, we're always looking for where we can invest and get a good return on that. So
Yeah.
I totally appreciate that. So anyhow, well, thanks again for being willing to have this conversation with me. I've been a more recent partner with Morrison going back maybe about 8 years. And I brought in a different business unit into this company. So I primarily work in that business unit. So, but I love all the team members that work with you. And, I've certainly heard about your company and heard only good things about you personally. So again, I appreciate your partnership and being willing to take this opportunity to have a conversation. And I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you fitting us in here.
No problem. I said this morning because generally don't do things like this, but I'm like, for this group, I will, because you guys have been awesome.
Cool.